Hey everybody, welcome to Back Porch Cooking and Reminiscing. I'm Roger and glad to have y'all here with us today. So we got a treat for you today. We're going to be making Audrey's Granny's old-fashioned Blackberry Cobbler. Now Audrey was very close to her granny growing up, and so she saw her make this cobbler many times. And just for a side note, you're not going to believe what her granny's name was. She was Nanny Valentine. And luckily, I got to meet Granny and have a few years before she passed away. But she was a great woman and a great cook. So we're going to get ready to make this blackberry cobbler. So hang in there with us, and we'll be back in just a minute and get started on it. So y'all, I told you that this recipe was Granny Mulligan's recipe for the blackberry cobbler, and Audrey was able to find a picture of her. And so this is Granny Mulligan holding her son Colton when he was 6 months old. Just wanted you to see what the lady looked like that came up with this recipe. All right, y'all, so we're ready to get started making this blackberry cobbler. Now I've went ahead, just to save some time and everything, I've went ahead and got my uh, blackberry mixture ready, but I'll put it in the description telling you exactly how to do it. There's really nothing to it. You're just going to put your berries in there, add some water and a few other things, and so really nothing to making the blackberry mixture. So we're going to go straight into making our dumplings that are going to go into this, because this cobbler has dumplings in it along with the cobbler crust. So this is going to be out of this world. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 cups of flour. And of course, y'all know we're using our white lily, and I'm using the self-rising. I'm not going to go with the plain. And we're going to take our pastry cutter and we're going to just cut this shortening into our flour mixture. And that was 2 cups of flour and 1/8 a cup of shortening. And now I'm doing it like Granny would have done it, in which she used lard. Now you can use the vegetable shortening, but that's not what Granny used. She used lard. So, and we're letting our mixture over here come to a boil, and we've got it sitting on about a 5 right now. If y'all have watched me do other biscuits and stuff, you know that every now and then you've got to clean off your cutter just a little bit. I think we've about got that cut in pretty well. And now we are going to start slowly adding 2/3 cups of milk. We're going to put a little bit in there, give it a stir. Like I say, we just want to add it in there slowly, because we don't want to put too much in there. Otherwise, we've got to go back and get some more flour. And we're going to do drop dumplings. Now, you can roll your dumplings out or pat them out, make them strips or squares or whatever you want to make it. Again, this is how Granny did it. So we got our dough all mixed up, and we're just waiting on our mixture to come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we'll just start dropping these dumplings in. So we've got a blackberry mixture. It's come to a boil, so now it's time to start dropping those dumplings. And you're just going to get you a little bit on your spoon, like this. And you're going to take a second spoon, and you're just going to drop it or push it off in there. Nothing to it. And that's going to make you some pretty little round dumplings. So I'm going to get the rest of them put in and then we'll come back. So we got our dumplings put in our blackberry mix, and we're not going to stir these or anything. We're just going to leave them like that. We've cut the heat down on low, and this is what you want them to look like. And now we're going to put a lid on them for about 5 to 7 minutes. So we let our dumplings sit in our blackberry mixture for about 7 minutes on low. Then I cut them off, and you want to kind of submerge your dumplings a little bit, but don't stir them, okay? Because if you stir them, they are going to come apart on you, and you're just going to have a big mess. So remember, do not stir. Just take your spoon and you can push them down into the mixture. But again, like I say, don't stir them. Now we're going to make our topping to go on our cobbler. So while we're making our topping for our cobbler, we're just letting our dumplings sit here, no heat on them, just what little bit of heat was from the top, but we're just letting them sit there. So now we're going to take 2 cups of flour. We're going to take 1/3 cup of shortening, and again, we're using lard. And we're going to take our pastry cutter, and we're just going to cut that shortening or lard right into this flour. I'm going to scrape off everything. Alright, y'all, I believe we've pretty much got it. Not much sticking to our cutter anymore. It kind of looks like we got some pea-sized crumbs in there. So we will get rid of the cutter, and then we're going to, again, slowly add in our 2/3 cup of milk. And we're just going to stir it until we get all the flour mixture incorporated with the milk. So y'all, we about got this mixed up, and we're going to get our pan ready, and we're going to use a cast iron skillet today because Granny had a special pan that she only made cobblers in it. But we don't have that pan, so we're going to use a cast iron skillet because I think cast iron just makes everything taste better. All right, y'all, so that's what our dough mix is going to look like for our top. And we've turned our dough out onto a floured surface here. I just used aluminum foil. Makes it easy clean up. So we're going to just knead it, maybe 6 or 7 times. You know, this is the only thing I don't like about doing biscuits or doing baking stuff is that you gotta kind of get messy doing it. And I think that's probably going to be about enough to take care of it. And now we're just going to put a little flour on our rolling pin there. We're going to roll this out. Now this skillet that I'm using is about a 12.5-inch skillet. So I'm going to have to roll this out pretty good to be able to cover it. It'll be like a thin crust pizza. And y'all, we're getting pretty close to being the size that we need it to be. So y'all, we're now ready to pour our dumpling and blackberry mixture into our pan. And we did butter this pan. So y'all, since my top cover was so big, I folded it in half. And I think that's going to make it a little easier for me to work with. I'm just going to very easily get our hand underneath there. Then we're going to bring it over here and put it on our skillet. Kind of put it along the edges. And then we're going to try our best to just fold it out and put it on there. All right, I think we did a pretty good job there. Now we just need to trim it off. So we're going to just take a knife and go around and trim the edges off. So here's our cobbler with our top crust on it. Then we took some small thin pats of butter. We put some butter on there. Of course, y'all know butter makes everything better. And now the last thing we're going to do before we go into the oven is I'm going to take just a little handful of sugar and we're going to just sprinkle that all over the top. All right, that should do it. Okay, guys, we're ready to just go into the oven with it. And again, 400 degrees, somewhere around 35 minutes or so, or till your top browns and everything looks good. And you get some bubbling action around the edges. So we'll be back once it's done. All right, y'all, so our cobbler has baked for about 35 minutes. And we took it out, and it's been sitting here now for probably 10 or 15 minutes, just kind of cooling down. And something to remind you of, when you put your cobbler in the oven, be sure you put some aluminum foil underneath just in case it does bake over the top of the pan. Ours did just a little bit, not really bad, but luckily I had some aluminum foil in there, so no big mess to have to clean up. And so now we are ready to get us some of this cobbler out and just see how good it is. One other piece of advice I'll give you when that you're cooking your cobbler: if it starts to brown and it gets brown before the time's up that it needs to cook, just get you a piece of aluminum foil, put over the top of it. That way it'll stop the browning process and the inside will continue to cook. All right, guys, so I'm ready to get a piece and see how it is. Get a few of those dumplings in there with it. All right, so that's what our bowl looks like, and we're going to let that cool a few minutes and then we're going to give it a taste. All right, y'all, so we got our cobbler out and in the bowl, and we're ready to give it a taste and see if it's good. Guys, that cobbler is so good. Um, it is just wonderfully delicious. That biscuit crust is just perfect. The dumplings inside they flavored up really good from the blackberry juices, and it's just, as I say, it's perfect. I hope that y'all will try this recipe. Again, make it for your family, share it with your friends. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment in the comments below. Y'all have a great one. Appreciate you being here.